The CERCOM Maturity Assessment Framework is an approach for assessing organisational maturity in implementing the principles of circular economy. It was developed during the CERCOM project and provides a means for highway authorities to assess their progress, identify areas for development, and track that development over time. The assessment is based on 7 themes, starting with the ambition for achieving circular economy, then moving on to the steps being taken to embedding circular economy principles in the organisational thinking and processes, monitoring performance in achieving resource efficiency, setting standards that facilitate rather than block the adoption of more resource-efficient options, developing the constructive relationships with the supply chain that enables new thinking, adopting the business models that enable circular solutions to be valued appropriately in decision-making, and adopting the procurement processes that incentivise the supply chain to invest in delivering more resource-efficient products. Each of these areas is important to achieving the overall aim of delivering more circular processes. In the CERCOM assessment framework, each of these themes is scored on a scale of 1 to 9, where the first 3 stages represent the initial engagement with the transition to circular economy principles. Stages 4 to 6 represent the early stages of putting this into practice, and stages 7 to 9 represent more mature, active deployment of principles. For example, considering the theme of circular economy ambition, in stage 1 to 3, an authority would commit to transitioning to circular principles and adopting a definition of what this means in practice. During stages 4 to 6, they would publish a policy for this transition and start to develop targets. Stages 7 to 9 would be associated with putting into practice a strategic plan with a route map and timeline for achieving key goals and with targets and monitoring in place. The characteristics of each individual stage is defined in each of the 7 themes in a full assessment rubric. This allows a road authority to assess their level of maturity in each area. The use of this rubric is simplified through an interactive dashboard which has been created in a macro-enabled Excel spreadsheet. This allows a user to scroll through the different maturity levels in each theme to find the level that best represents the current status of their organisation. The description from the assessment rubric that corresponds to the theme and stage that have been selected is displayed, and the overall result is displayed on the simple chart to the right. Saving this information will allow the progress to be monitored over time. Simple guidance is provided, from defining the scope of the assessment to identifying the relevant activities taking place and the milestones already achieved. Then, for each of the 7 themes, identifying the stage with a description that is the best fit to the activities taking place, validating this assessment through appropriate consultation, and finally developing an action plan to address the most important areas. This framework was applied by a number of national road authorities during the CERCOM project, and an example of one result is presented here. It indicates that at the time, the organisation had made significant progress with defining and embedding circular principles, and, to a lesser extent, with developing the standards and relationships with the supply chain that will help to meet these ambitions, as well as putting in place a performance monitoring regime. Developing business models and procurement strategies to incentivise circular economy principles were at a very early stage, and this overall picture is typical of the status of the industry at the present time. We expect to see rapid development over the coming years, and the CERCOM framework can be used by road authorities as a tool to monitor progress and identify areas for development.